on, D-Bags? Hope you guys are doing well. We're back here again with another episode of the Detox Podcast, episode 311 to be exact. And if you're new here and enjoy music, podcasts, comedy, or hooping videos, do consider subscribing. We've got a whole bunch of that stuff going on around here. When you do subscribe, leave a like or hang out with us in a live chat like you're going to do today. Helps us share conversations and laughs like this with more people. So now, before I can introduce you guys to my guest this week, and we've got a fun one for you, celebrating Father's Day. We've got to talk a little bit about vacations. All right, we got to talk about, it's that time of the year. Even though it's been a little hit or miss lately in Wisconsin, I will say, in the Midwest in general this year. It's supposed to be nice out, and it might be getting nice soon. And there's no better place to enjoy some of that beautiful weather than Alpine House 2, today's video sponsor. Alpine House 2 is located up in Iron River, Michigan. All right, directly across the street from the Ski Brûlée Resort in Iron River, Michigan, which you're not going to do much skiing at right now. But it's a classic Swiss chalet duplex A-frame with a log cabin interior, and it's beautiful. It's surrounded by forests, lakes, rivers, obviously more specifically Iron River. Alpine House 2 is literally the destination for fishing, hunting, hiking, kayaking, all that stuff this time of year. It's perfect for that. They've just undergone like they're almost their first year now on Airbnb and Verb, and you can check them out at either of those or on Instagram at Alpine House 2. That's at ALPINEHAUS number 2 on Instagram to stay up to date on renovations, bookings, etc. You can hit them up on Instagram and tell them Rita Detox sent you, and they're going to set you up with a vacay. Now, I mentioned this has been this is the start of the 311th episode of the podcast. I've been doing this for a minute, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to speak to you. I didn't know what mics to buy. I didn't know what cameras to get. But today's other video sponsor, Impulse Camera, can help you kind of skip a lot of those headaches that I had to go through at the beginning of this journey. Impulse is located in Oak Creek, Wisconsin's Drexel Square, has everything you could possibly need for your creative projects, whether it's cameras, lights, microphones, gimbals, or even just a space to record your own content. They literally have all of it. They don't just have a great selection of gear, though. They also have extremely hardworking, talented staff that will help you get the best gear suited for your needs at the prices that fit your budget. If you're still not convinced, they also offer a super legit rental program that allows you to get your hands on some great gear before you end up buying it. They also have monthly memberships that get you extra discounts and stuff like that. So check out at impulse.mke on Instagram or impulsecameras.com to see everything that they have going on. And them as well as Alpine House 2 are both linked down below. So shout out to them for sponsoring today's episode. Now, with all that good stuff out of the way, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. We got to give a very wet detox welcome to author, delivery man, and dad joke expert, Dave Anderson. He's here in the building.
Oh, thank you.
In the flesh, man. We're excited to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it worked out. Like when we ran into each other, then I was kind of booking for the show, and like I thought, you're a dad joke expert, connoisseur. You're into the dad jokes. You tell the dad jokes, and it fell right after Father's Day. I was like, what better time,
No pressure now.
No pressure now. How was your Father's Day, man? Did you get to relax a little bit? Did you see the kids at all, or?
No, unfortunately, just was working, but
just working. Fair.
Got to stay ahead of the bills. But
did you get to tell some dad jokes at least?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What are we? Or can you tell us what you're working on, or what you were working on yesterday?
Dad
joke wise.
Well, it gets a lot of spontaneous laughs. So
okay, so maybe
So I know that it's a good one.
All right.
And it's pretty easy. What do you call the senior official at the track meet?
The senior official at the track meet. I don't know.
Old timer.
I love it, dude. How do your delivery on these is so great, dude. And that's what, like, how we met was like you were delivering food. I grabbed the food, and that's kind of your story. You've been delivering food for a long time, right, and telling jokes just about as long.
Yeah. Well, telling jokes longer.
Yeah. So did you do stand-up or something before this?
No, I've never done stand-up.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it. Just haven't had the time to explore that really.
Yeah.
But I was definitely embarrassing my kids long before.
Yeah.
I'd walk up to random people and say, "Would you like a joke?" And
oh yeah,
my kids would say, "No, I don't know that guy."
Yeah, they're like, "Stop, Dad."
But isn't that the job of parents to, you got to embarrass your kids a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think if your parents don't embarrass you a little bit, you'll grow up to you'll be rotten, man. Like, you got to have something. I mean, my dad, he used to, for the longest time, I thought he genuinely had the force, because we'd go to a store, a grocery store, and they have the automatic doors, and it's, I'm fresh off watching Star Wars. I'm all jacked up on that. He's every time. I still do it to the, and the first and he's doing it in front of people, and people would be like, "What the hell?" And my dad had like the Jedi braid in his hair for a while, and we used to think like, we thought it was super cool for a while, and then we got a little bit older, and we were like, "Dad, what are you doing, man? Chill." And he's still, and so to this day, I still do it. Every time I go into a store now, I still do the same thing. But
well, it's a good family tradition.
Yeah, you gotta have something.
And even though it's kind of silly,
yeah,
it makes you smile, and it puts a smile on your face, and it does increase the dopamine.
Yeah. Dad jokes are good for your health, is what we're getting to, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What makes for a good? We talked about this a little bit off air. I want to know, what do you think makes a good dad joke?
Well, my jokes are kind of riddles.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of information in the setup.
Yeah.
That if you really think about it, you should be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yet it's going to be not exactly what you might expect. So that, to me, what makes a good dad joke is something that kind of, it makes sense, but yet it's not exactly what you might have thought of was going to be the punchline. So I don't know how to explain it really.
It's very similar to feels like in regular, like you want to subvert expectations, but in a dad joke sense, it's like you set it up like you're gonna subvert the expectation, and then the subverting of the expectation is that you don't 100% subvert the expectation. If that makes that's how I see it. If
yeah,
that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
sure what that means.
Because in a dad joke, a good dad joke, it's like almost so obvious that like you wouldn't have guessed it. Like it's like you're like, that's not, that's the subversion. Is like you normally you're thinking you're setting me up, so I'm like, there's no way it can be that easy.
Yeah.
And then I go this way, and then
I
it's
know what you
funnier
mean.
because you come back to the almost like the simpler thing.
You almost set them up to overthink it.
Yeah, kind of. And I think that's where the riddle aspect comes in that you're mentioning, right?
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's good. You were telling us one out in the kitchen right before this that was a spider one, and people were overthinking it.
Yeah.
And then when we hear it, it's like, oh, duh, man.
Well, you want me to tell it now?
Yeah, tell it now. I'm gonna work up my reaction because I just heard it a second ago. But so I apologize if I don't give you a big.
And this is a really simple one, and there's really only two possible answers. So, whatever you're thinking of, you're probably you're going to be right, or if not, then you think of the other answer.
Yeah.
So, it's why would people think the spider is well connected? So you're going to either think about the 8 legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the spider web.
Yeah.
And so the answer is it's on the web.
Yeah. Did you used to get you mentioned like embarrassing your kids at all? Would you ever run some of these jokes by your kids? And like would you ever do it to them, or they were like, "No, Dad, I'm not participating."
It's not worth it.
Oh.
Because they're immune to it basically.
Yeah. You're too on all the time. They're just like, "No, not going to happen."
Yeah. I really should control myself when we go out to eat as a family.
Yeah.
Because
the waitress.
Inevitably, I have to tell the wait person a joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, you have to? Yeah, I do, but
yeah,
I guess that as infrequently as that happens, I really could control myself.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, but maybe I don't want to.
Yeah, and you don't have to. It's your life. What do you think? But what's the best time if you're out at dinner to tell a joke with the server? Is it at the beginning of the interaction or at the end after you're like paying the bill and stuff?
I think at the end.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, but if a situation, an obvious situation comes up, you
let it fly.
Do a little, smart aleck comment maybe.
Yeah, let it fly a little bit.
Yeah.
What one did somebody told me recently it was like some water joke. Oh, it was a server had almost like this is like a server dad joke. So I'm stealing this a little bit. So
Okay.
that's my credit. Someone said it online. They said when you drop off the first round of, like, you drop off the waters or whatever, like, first round's on me. And I don't know why. I'm a server. I've been a server for a long time, and I love that. I was like, I gotta steal that. Start using that.
Yeah, that's a good line.
That is good. So you
Because it loosens it up. It makes it puts everybody on a less tense
yeah.
basis.
I think that's the best part about, especially
And there's a connection there too, a little bit.
yeah, and I think with what you do, right? Because that's sort of, and I watched the Fox 6 thing you had done where, like, they kind of drove around with you and watched you do what you do, which for people that don't know, I'll give a little bit of history, and I'm sure you can correct me where I'm missing things. But you've been delivering food for a while, and while you deliver food, you give people a joke. You ask people if they'd like to hear a joke, and you give them a dad joke right there when they order their food, or when you drop off the food, or when you're picking up the food. And I think, especially as someone who, like, is in the service industry, so we deal with a bunch of, like, people that are working for DoorDash and Uber Eats and all these other things, right? And it's sort of a meme now where people will come in your restaurant and they just show you the phone.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here to pick this up.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever.
And I understand how that developed now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because if as a delivery driver, when you walk in,
Mm-hmm.
you might see something. You know which ones are going for the deliveries, which packages are going for the deliveries.
Yeah.
And you might just see a name there and say that name
Yeah.
as the driver. And if you're on the other side of the, if you're the one giving the orders out,
Yeah.
you don't know that's not who they have.
Yeah.
So if you show, I think that's why I developed it. You actually show the name.
Yeah.
So that.
Yeah, I think it started from a good place, but it's sort of now it's at a place where, like, there isn't that connection where, like, with what, you take a second to just be like, hey, would you like a joke? Like, it does build this, like, you're a person, I'm a person, like, we can just share positive interaction for 5 seconds, and it, like, doesn't hurt anybody's day. It actually probably boosts both of our days.
Yeah.
Where I think, like, that is what's lost in a little bit of, and I get it, doing these kind of, like, delivering, it's a tough gig sometimes. Like, you're doing so many deliveries in a day, and some people are rude and don't tip, or they complain or whatever. Totally get it. I've been there. I deliver pizzas. I actually want to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. But, it is so frustrating when you're working in a restaurant and somebody, you're like, hey, how's it going? And they just, right in your face, don't even say hello, right in your face. It's the phone screen. It's like, all right, man, I'll go get Alice W's food. I got you.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that when I ran into you.
And the other thing is, unfortunately, there is some stealing going on.
A ton, dude.
Maybe more than I know.
I had a guy this past weekend. He came in. He said he was there for, I don't know how he would have known this name, or I guess he knew the name and he didn't confirm it. So the host had handed him the food and he didn't confirm it.
Right.
And for people that don't know, like, basically you got to show them, hey, I have this order. Then you confirm that you pick it up, and then it gives you directions to go bring it to that person's house.
Right.
And he didn't confirm it.
Yeah.
So he took it and then just kept the food.
Yeah, he got the food.
Oh, yeah. And then it kept sending more people to our restaurant. I'm like, we don't have that anymore. And then I realized after, like, 30 minutes, like, the third person that I sent away, I'm like, oh, this person did not get their food. We got to remake this right now.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. And what was I thinking?
We were talking stealing, just people stealing and whatnot.
Yeah. And it unfortunately happens.
Yeah.
And with the company I work with, I confirm that I picked up the order, but then there's a second step where I actually say that I'm leaving. And most restaurants just confirm it.
Yeah.
But there are some that say, no, I need to see that you're leaving.
Because
that locks it in that says, I've got this order.
Yeah.
And if anything happens, it's on me.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
That's a security thing too.
I've seen it too. Like, I remember, like, the early days of these apps, like, however many years back, and I remember people I knew, like, that worked in the industry were, like, considering whether or not they wanted to, like, get on these apps. Like, they run a restaurant, like, or like GM or something. And, like, the big downside originally was the theft, because people didn't have, like, now when you order from Jimmy John's or something, that comes to you, and it's like, I mean, they like staple that thing shut. They've got their own like stickers to be like, this is sealed. Like, so if someone that was driving it did take something out of it, you would know because they would have had to break the seal. And back in like the early days, like people just had like regular to-go containers and stuff, so they're just like handing it out, and people just, you ordered like a 6-piece of mozzarella sticks, maybe 4.5 show up or something, and there's like no way to, the restaurant just on the hook for that now.
Yeah.
So then they complain to whatever company, and then that company is like, well, we're not going to pay for this, so pass it along.
Well, like anything, you learn as you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
What's the biggest difference in delivering food? How long have you been delivering food?
Well, I started with the pizza company that I was with in 2000.
Wow.
So,
yeah. A minute, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a day or two.
Yeah. So, okay, what's the biggest difference in quality of life for delivery drivers now? Because I feel like I started delivering pizzas in like the 2010s. So I had a phone that had the GPS. You didn't have a GPS at all?
No.
How was delivering pizzas pre-GPS?
You just have the map. You had a map on the wall, and you could look at the map before you left.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a notebook in your car with the more detailed maps. So, yeah.
Really? Wow. Did you ever like get lost on a delivery though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you do when you get lost? 'Cause I'll tell you what I did when I would get lost.
You just tear your hair out.
Yeah. So where I'm from Twin Lakes, which is like a small, like touristy little town, and there's a couple neighborhoods that are all like they jam all these nice houses right on the lake, and this is before, now everybody's got like those nice like reflective address signs all around, like I guess Kenosha County, I think everywhere now, but prior, when I first started delivering, they did not have those yet. So I had a GPS, right? And so most of the time, a house is on the GPS. You find it easy. Every once in a while, especially in some of these neighborhoods that were all the houses were jammed up on each other, it would be like a sign this big of like their 4 digits for like 456 North whatever drive. And it's literally like this big, and it's nighttime, and I'm driving a car that can barely run, and I've probably driven up and down this person's road like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And you're just like, where is going? And then you're calling them, nobody's answering. You're like, guys, I just want to give you the food. And then you finally get it to them, and they call back, and they're like, this is cold. It's rough.
Yeah. And the GPS is not always right.
No, it's not.
It usually is.
Yeah.
But not always.
Yeah.
So.
Especially back then. I had originally, I didn't have like a nice phone like this. I had like when I first started delivering pizzas, a friend of mine borrowed me, he had like a tablet, like a really not very good, like some off-brand tablet. And it had, for some reason, it had like 4G, like he had like a hotspot on or something, so I could use it for maps. And I don't know, man. Sometimes it would take me to I would punch in an address, and it would take me like 3 roads over. And I'm like, I swear I'm here. And people always, like, I walk into the door and they're like, oh, we didn't order it, but we'll take it. And I'm like, God damn it, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So quality of life.
Yeah.
I think the customers are doing better at tipping than they were.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly like before 2000.
Yeah.
$1 was like almost all that they would do.
Yeah.
But now people are pretty good at tipping,
Yeah.
I think.
They do a better job of like based on the percentage of what it is and stuff like that.
But of course, cost of living is higher too, so
True.
I don't know.
If you were to order food for delivery, what's like the lowest you tip?
$5 at least.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Even if it's like, it doesn't matter what the bill, like the cheapest I will spend is $5 on it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I can't go lower than that. Even if I only ordered something that's, $12 or something, like, I'm like, it just doesn't seem right to have someone drive it to my house for less than $5.
Yeah. And it's usually, for me, well, I'm just talking about regular tip.
Yeah.
Delivery, it'd be at least 7.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Probably 10.
Yeah. What's the biggest tip you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
Let me tell that story. With my company, I've realized that sometimes if I get an order and I don't start moving towards that restaurant quick enough, I'll lose the order, which is kind of strange, but it happens.
Yeah.
So one day I was on Brewer Boulevard. I call it Brewer Boulevard.
Okay.
And I ordered something, And before I got it, I got an order, and it was like it was going to pay me $70. And I said,
That's pretty good.
I took the receipt to the person behind the counter. I said, give this to somebody else. I'm not waiting.
Yeah.
And it was downtown, just the other side, south of the river,
Gotcha.
south of the Menominee River, actually, I think.
Okay.
And it was just to like First and Wisconsin or something like that.
Okay. So it's not even a far drive.
No, not a far drive, a mile maybe.
Was it a lot of food? Was it like a big order?
Oh, it was 74 items. And it was
From where? What kind of restaurant? Can you say what kind of restaurant?
sushi.
A sushi.
Sushi.
Jeez, man. They were
Yeah.
having a party.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was for what I would call big grocery bags.
Yeah.
And I had the 4 bags and went to the door, and it was after hours, so the door was locked. So I called, and she said, "Yeah, I'll send somebody down." And a couple guys came down. They were going to grab the order, and because I always like to tell a joke, I said, "Well, okay, I've got. How about if I just come up? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've got this order in my hands." So I went up and told them a couple jokes, and I figured if they're going to give me that much money for that
Yeah.
easy of a delivery, they deserve something special.
Yeah.
So I gave them some good jokes, and
Awesome, man. Did they land well? I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
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 People are probably
They were
psyched,
good.
man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
of course I reached in my pocket and pulled out my card and gave them my card so they could
Yeah.
get more
That's-
jokes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a good feeling though when you. It's interesting that you can see the tips ahead of time on these apps because I never delivered
Yeah.
for any like the apps like that. That's gotta be interesting. That's got a different dynamic than like doing pizzas back in the day, right? Where it's like when I deliver pizzas, you might have like a catering order or something big, and you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get this will probably be a big tip, but you don't know, and then you show up, and most of the time people are good about it, but every once in a while somebody. You're delivering $300 worth of food and they give you a 5 and you're like, well, I guess, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it isn't better than nothing, but
And maybe they thought somebody else took care of it. I
maybe,
don't know.
yeah. Or they
I
think
don't
it's
know.
in the cost sometimes too.
Yeah.
Some people, sometimes it is.
Yeah. And they can give you a tip up front.
Yeah.
They can do that, or they can give you a cash tip.
Yeah.
So
Is it interesting for you? Are you somebody that like, you'll kind of watch to see like which one's going to give a good tip? Because I've heard that's like a thing with the app deliveries that it's like, okay, if I'm delivering for, we'll say DoorDash or something, if I can see that this is a $7 tip and it's only here to here, like I'm going to take that over the one that's a $3 tip and longer distance.
for the most part, I just accept all of the orders.
Yeah.
But particularly when I'm getting ready to be done for the day,
Yeah.
if it's not a good order, I might
Just pass on it.
pass on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get rated on 3 things:
Mm.
what percentage of the orders I accept,
Okay.
how on time I am at getting to the restaurant,
Yeah.
and what percentage of the time I'm on the app when I'm scheduled.
Oh,
Which is-
okay.
Which is interesting because I set my own schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I set my schedule and I don't get on it, then
They kind of dock you. They're like,
then
oh,
I get docked. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's lower of the 3 scores is what my rating is.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that if I have the highest rating, I do get, when the really good orders come up, I do get those.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So I
you
do
kinda
want to
get
accept.
rewarded.
I do want to accept all the orders if I
Yeah.
can.
That makes sense that they would do it that way. That seems a little bit more fair, right? If you're more reliable and you're showing you're more reliable, then it's like, yeah, when we got the big ones, that's going to go to you. That makes
Yeah.
sense. What, in delivering food, what is one of the craziest or weirdest situations you've ever found yourself in? Because that's something like when I was delivering food, I still, when I drive back to my hometown, I realize that I've been in basically everybody's house that lives there. Like I've been in their living rooms. Like there's been, boat parties that I'm walking in the backyard and I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like you see some cool stuff sometimes. Has there been anything like that for you?
Well, I think one of the more interesting ones, I went to a delivery, and they said, "Come on in." So I went in,
Yeah.
and they pointed to some people sitting on the couch. They said, "They're getting married tomorrow." Do you have any advice for them?
You're-
And, off the top of my head, I just said, always remember that the other person is just as human as you are.
that's a bar.
And that's not bad for
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I guess that was one of the more unusual situations.
That is. That is. Do they look ready to get married?
Who knows?
Yeah. Fair.
Having been divorced, who knows?
Sure.
Who knows if they're ready to get married?
Yeah. 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 Wow. That's crazy though. I can't imagine putting that kind of pressure on my delivery guy. Like, hey man, what do you think? We're hanging out.
Well,
What were they getting for food? Were they getting pizza?
Yeah, there was pizza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
I didn't have to answer the question. I
That's
could have
true.
said, well,
That's
you
true.
you figure it out. But
Yeah.
I think that was kind of inspired. So
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good answer. That's what in like looking over a lot of your stuff, and like we have the website linked down below so people can check that out. And going through your website, as someone who does music, I do some hip hop music. I'm like, this guy could write some crazy bars if you wanted to, man. You could turn these riddles, some of these dad jokes, some of these riddles, they're great punchlines for music, for like rap music, dude. You could become a rapper if you wanted to.
wow.
I'm telling you, some of them, they're clever, they're they're funny, they're funny, and they're smart. They're smart enough where like, I don't know, you could give Kendrick and some of these new. I don't know if you listen to rap music, but
No.
probably not. No, that's fair.
No.
But so I mentioned the website though for a specific reason. You got the books here with you today.
Yeah.
You not only have you been practicing this joke game for a minute and delivering smiles and delivering food and delivering dad jokes, you've got some books that you've written with these jokes that you've been working on. Can you give people a little bit of background on what went into these books, and then I want to show them off a little bit.
Well, that's good. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
So delivering pizza, you have regular customers,
Mm-hmm.
and something I want to talk about in a little bit too.
Yeah.
And you wrote it down, so
Yeah.
you know what it is.
We'll get back to it. Yeah.
We'll get back to it. But
yeah.
People enjoy my jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're quick. They're just one-liners. They're not 1925. John and Jim did this, and
Yeah.
it's not a whole story. It's just a quick joke that really doesn't take much time,
Yeah.
but it puts a smile on their face. And people started telling me, "Hey, you should write a book."
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I said, "No, it'd be too short. And I kept getting customers. You should write a book. You should write a book. And my manager was, getting the reports,
Mhm.
realizing that I got the most comments of anybody in the restaurant. And they were all positive comments, of course,
Yeah.
because people said, and the delivery guy told a good joke.
Yeah.
And, so my manager started encouraging me. He said, yeah, you really should write a book.
Yeah.
So I started writing down the jokes, and I got to 30, and I thought, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
So I published my first book, which is this one.
Would you like a joke? Introduction.
Yeah.
A dad's joke collection. I love
And
it.
in there, I put a dedication, and then I put a little story about how the jokes had impacted someone,
Mm-hmm.
the power of humor, I called it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, that's a pretty good format. So I just kept going, and
Yeah. How
No,
many are we on now?
I've got 9 published.
That's money, man. That's excellent. That's so
And
cool.
I put 30 in each book, so it's a month's worth of books, or a month worth of jokes.
Yeah.
And I've got the jokes written for 3 more books.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, I will have a joke of the day calendar.
Yeah. Dude, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd probably be worth the investment for other delivery drivers to start getting on their dad joke game, Would
yes
you be
and no.
No? Why no?
If you're not good at it,
Mm-hmm.
well, like anything, yes, it takes practice.
Yes.
But have you noticed that some people, when they tell jokes, the funniest part of the joke is the difficulty they have telling it?
Yes, yeah. Sometimes the sentences are hard for people to put together, for sure.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and yes, they could,
They could practice.
They could
maybe?
practice and they could get better,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be authentic.
Yeah.
I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Although I have heard that there's at least one other driver in the city that does pretty much what I do, tells the jokes.
He's trying to copy your swag.
No, independent. They're not
Oh,
copying.
okay.
I don't think any copying. It's just
Okay.
same gig, different person.
That would, what would be really cool would be some sort of, I don't know if it'd be an event or even a day maybe where you filmed both of your guys' day and like a little joke off thing, like you guys, like somebody films you do all your deliveries for a day and like maybe you do 10 deliveries or something specifically and do 10 different jokes and then he does 10 and that would be kind of fun to supercut that. That's a cool idea.
Well, you could work on that.
Maybe I will. I might figure something out for us. That sounds exciting.
But I don't know who that other driver is, so
We'll find him. I'll
Okay.
start ordering food, man. I'm hungry.
for everybody.
Yeah, I'll just start ordering food, paying for everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned, we talked about this a little bit before we went live, and you mentioned you want to get to this, and in talking about like having some regulars, that people that order from the same places and they get you multiple times and they're like almost expecting a new joke from you. You said something to me before we went live about maybe the connection between good jokes and customer retention, like keeping people wanting to keep ordering from a place potentially.
Right. Yeah. And
Speak on that.
and the reason I say that, at the pizza company,
Mm-hmm.
I had a number of customers that said, well, I was thinking about pizza and I thought, well, if I order from your company,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll probably get a joke.
Yeah.
So that made the difference between them choosing between company A and company B.
Yeah.
And I had some customers that said, don't ever quit, because when I need a joke, I'm going to order pizza and I'll get you for a delivery and then
Yeah.
I'll get a joke.
That's beautiful. How, I think there is retention in that. I think there is, and I think maybe that's what I was kind of joking with you before we went live about, that maybe companies gotta invest in that, dude. They got to, because if that was the difference between company A and company B, was the fact that you just brightened their day by 10 seconds with a joke.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I don't know how much food they're ordering. And prices keep going up of food, so I mean, shit, making the companies more money.
And it's not just food delivery. It could be any company.
Yeah.
It could be any company that, has regular customers coming in or going out or whatever.
Yeah. A little bit of humor goes a long way.
And I'm thinking, joke of the week.
Yeah.
And what difference could that make?
I'm telling you, I used to work retail. I think that would crush in retail. Like if you got everybody team huddle at the beginning of the week and you're like, hey, in case, if you have an interaction with a guest and you want to, here's something we got. Almost like you would with like if you're with in a restaurant and they like give you your spiel for the menu, a similar thing that could go a long way.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it could.
I don't know how to quantify what difference it would make.
Well, I think if you look at like even certain fast food chains, like you look at like Chick-fil-A is known for their customer service, right? They say like my pleasure and all this stuff, and people
Right.
kind of goof on them
Right.
a little bit online for it, but like I do think people usually leave Chick-fil-A a little bit happier than they were, and
Yeah.
some of that, I mean, obviously it's probably the food is playing a big factor in that, but the fact that the customer service is a little better than when I go to the Taco Bell over by the Rave, that one is,
Yeah.
we have beef with that Taco Bell, so we can
Okay.
say that on this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
but-
you probably know another company that has a particular line. See you next time.
Oh, who's see you next time? Who is it? Yeah. Oh, it is quick. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Quick Trip does crush.
Yeah. So I like to play the game with them to
Mhm.
say that before they say it.
Oh, whoa.
And I'm not the only one. I've talked to a number of them.
Yeah.
And I try to get that out, and then I say,
Does
a
that
lot of people play that game, right? Oh yeah, a lot of people play that game.
yeah, that probably throws them off their balance a little bit though.
No,
off their rhythm.
well, it could,
Yeah.
but I think they're used to it enough now that they take it in stride.
I'm gonna start doing that now. You just put me on. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Well, there's a lot of ways to have fun,
Yeah.
and as long as you're not hurting someone, you can't have too much fun.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that's something that like I think that is a little bit missing sometimes. I think like we're kind of missing that a little bit these days, and like we could all use a little bit more of that, you know, especially in our like day-to-day jobs, because it's like we're not you're not a number. Like we're not supposed to just be a number that's like just doing a thing, right? Like
not just hold the phone up to your face.
yeah, like
right?
hold the phone up to your face, or even like, you know, a server at a restaurant, like that's still a person, you know, or like you're at a store and you're asking somebody about, you know, I don't know, like this cup or this cup, and that's a human being that's going to go to the back and check for that, you know,
Right.
and like being able, and the person that's looking for that maybe is confused, and you're like, why are you asking me, a 19-year-old, about what medicine you should take, you know, whatever it is. That's still a person. I'm still a person. Like if we can maybe have a little bit more fun, I think all these interactions would be just more pleasant. You know, like it'd be a little bit less tense. It seems.
Well, that's probably the whole point of your podcast, right?
Yeah. We just goof.
Make the world a better place. Just lighten it up, and
We probably don't make the world a better place. I'll be honest, man. We have fun. But I don't know that we're making the world better over here. We try, but people on the internet are mean, man. They're mean.
it's a rough place, right?
It is. What do you think? There's a couple other things I want to get to today. We talked a little bit about delivering pizzas, and some of the stuff that you've had to go through with that. What is the weirdest thing you've delivered? Weird, whether it's a kind of food or maybe it's an item or anything specific jump out?
I was working with a what do you call it? Where you deliver just everything.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Parcel
Yeah.
delivery company.
Yeah.
And I delivered a palm tree to a customer.
Here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't a real palm tree.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Still.
But yeah, the whole plastic palm tree I delivered to the customer.
Yeah.
They were having a party and they ordered a palm tree, and
Wow.
I got that delivery.
That's awesome.
I think that's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. Cool to have the kind of money to be like, hey, we're throwing a party, we need a palm tree, you know?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I never got to deliver anything that cool. Mostly just pizzas. One time I did deliver a pizza to, there was this very sketchy apartment building complex in my hometown, and I delivered a pizza one time, and I'm like knocking on the door and nobody's coming to the door. I'm like, hey, pizza. When the door eventually swung open, there's a pistol right outside, and I went, holy you know, I'm scared out of my mind. And I'm like, pizza, man, it's a pizza guy. He's like, oh, it's you. And I'm like, who did you think it was, dude? I'm said pizza. He's like, you know, people be saying that, man. People be saying that. I'm like,
Oh my.
Who is saying that? And what kind of life are you living that you think the phone is tapped? You ordered a pizza 30 minutes ago. Who could you have thought it could have been? So, you know, delivering pizzas is a dangerous job sometimes.
Unfortunately, it is.
Have you ever gotten in an altercation at all? Hopefully never a gun pulled on you or anything, but...
Not really.
No.
I did walk into a business one night, and there was a customer that was all excited about something,
Mm-hmm.
and there was somebody else there that was taunting them or egging them on. And what I really should have said was to the person that was egging them on, you shut up.
Yeah.
And to the other person, you leave.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to get in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in uniform, not a police officer or anything, but they were in an official uniform, and they were kind of standing between them. But
Yeah.
it was like, just calm down, guys.
Yeah. Are you like holding food? Like you're trying to give them their food? Or
I was trying to get the order.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to get the order, and I wasn't going anywhere near where they were, you know, because
Yeah.
I didn't want to get in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So
It's so bizarre to me how quick sometimes people, I know we're all carrying our own baggage, you know, and sometimes that
Yeah.
comes out. Like it's
Yeah.
really not about whatever they were fighting about in that moment. But it's like, come on, guys. We're going to fight in front of the delivery guy right now. Like, is it that deep, you know?
you're going to fight in front of other customers.
Yeah. Like, it's just goofy. Don't do
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
know?
But maybe, you know, obviously at least one of them had a bad day, or maybe a bad week, maybe even a bad life. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but just calm down and
Yeah.
don't take it too seriously.
Do you have any pro tips for people that are maybe new to delivering food in any capacity? Is there any pro tips or pieces of advice that you would give somebody that's starting?
Delivering food.
Yeah.
Well, treat the customer right, and make sure that the order is right before you leave the restaurant.
Big time.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And don't mix up orders like I did one time. Deliver the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty important, because even if the first person you delivered it to, realizes it's not their order, they're going to dig in, and you can't fix it then.
Yeah.
So
And then the next one's wrong too. Yeah.
next one's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there.
I mean, so be careful, but again, have fun.
What's the best way to not flip a pizza or let a pizza slide? Did you ever deliver like flat or like thin crust pizzas? Sometimes they'll slide if it's real.
Yeah. Well, I was running one time in the winter, and I didn't see the ice on the sidewalk, and down I went, and the pizza fell, and I explained it to the customer. I said, "Sorry, I dropped your pizza." They opened it up. They said, "It's okay, still pizza."
Yeah, that's what I would do, but I wish more people were that cool.
Yeah, the important thing is to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let the customer know, hey, I had a problem, and if we need to fix it, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And if you're cool with it, thank you for being cool with it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I've had it before where like I literally walked all the way up to the step. I like got to the step of the house and slipped, and like didn't fully flip it, but just like jerked it and like fell into their house. And I'm like, I'm such a clumsy idiot, and I'm so mad at myself. And I've just basically rung the doorbell. So like they saw me, like they're coming up, and I'm like, hey, I just flipped it. We can open it together, but this might be ruined. And then you open it, and it is, half of it's like flipped over. And in that case, they were not so cool, but I was like, I will get it. I will be right back. I will fix it, and I will be back with another one.
Yeah. And that's the good thing. You can fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just food.
Yeah. That my dad used to say that all the time. He would always say, we're not saving people's lives. It's just pizza.
Right.
So whenever I'm, working in restaurants, or if I'm working at, some other gig and people are getting stressed out about whatever, I'm just like, hey, it's just pizza. We're good. Like nobody's life is on the line.
And if they really wanted a refund, what difference does it make?
It'll happen. Yeah.
It'll happen. You fix the problem.
Yeah.
And you keep the customer.
Yeah. Has anybody ever? I feel like this is probably. I know the answer. This is probably no. But has anybody ever given you a bad review?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What were they mad at you for?
Well, you don't always say the right thing, and you don't know the situation, and so you read it wrong and you say something. Being a smart aleck, you say something wrong, and
damn, that's enough for them to leave the review. The food was fine though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the whole interaction is part of it.
Yeah, and sometimes people do live in like alternate realities where like they will think you said something really mean, and you're like, what happened? I left that interaction thinking we were cool. I haven't really gotten many negative reviews, but I've had a couple in the past, and it's like when I was younger and I was delivering pizzas, like it'd be like a longer wait. They're like, I waited X amount of time for this pizza, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, hey, delivery is an hour. Like we told you what it was ahead of time, whatever. They're like, I waited 45 minutes for this pizza, and I only live 10 minutes away from the place. How's it taking this long? And on top of it, the teenager that brought my food was that he was snarky and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I thought I just said, hello, how are you? Here's your pizza. And then I left. I don't know. Like, I didn't know what was said that could have been, offensive.
No, they were already upset.
Exactly. Something was going on.
Yeah.
They took it out on the delivery driver.
Yeah.
And they got a free pizza out of it. So I guess that was good. Fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play.
So I did want to tell you something that we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
I've made up jokes in my sleep.
How does that happen?
This particular time I was listening to the radio. I had the radio on, but I was sleeping.
Okay.
And I came up with this joke. How did the strawberry get crushed?
How did the strawberry get crushed? I don't know.
It got caught in the door jamb
The door jam. Love it. That's in your sleep?
in my
You come
sleep. Yeah. So I forced myself awake to write it down so I
Mm.
wouldn't forget it.
Wow. Do you have a physical notebook that you like to write them in, or do you do like the notes app?
I did on my old phone, but my doesn't work on my new phone. So
Oh,
I carry 3x5 cards
yeah,
and write down
yeah.
when I hear a word or phrase that I think there's got to be a joke in here.
Oh, yeah,
It just catches me, and so I write it down,
yeah,
and then I think about it, and maybe there's a joke there, maybe there's not.
yeah. But it's always turning. I think that's one of the coolest things I think about getting to talk to creative people, and whether it's jokes, music, whatever, is that like that doesn't really turn off.
Right.
There's times where it's like you're in more of a flow state and it comes to you easier.
Right.
And there's times where maybe you've got a little bit more stuff going on in your head and it's a little tougher to come up with new things. But that's something like I'll be at work all the time and it just be the briefest interaction and like something about that, or I heard something in the back and you're like, oh, I got an idea, and I gotta run to my phone and put a little voice memo in. Like, remember, I'm like Michael Scott in The Office. Like, oh, yo, here's this idea, or I'm writing it down as on anything. I'll write it down on. So
Yeah, I did learn that too. I would think, oh, I'll remember this.
yeah,
No, if you don't
You
write
won't.
it down, you won't remember it.
you will not. Yeah, you absolutely will not. It is like lightning in a bottle. You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
And you might even recreate the situation
yeah.
and think, oh, I'll remember it if I recreate it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So
You gotta catch it.
capture it
Yeah.
right at the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That's something that like it doesn't matter where I'm at, and I've like been at jobs like I'm in the back room at a retail store stocking stuff, and I'm like, oh, I got something, and I gotta like come all the way down the ladder, and like right away I'm putting this in. Like nobody speak to me. Let me just write this down real quick. I'll get right back to my job. Like I need like 2 seconds.
Yeah, the creative process is very interesting, isn't it?
It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
And also, I want to tell you this. Sometimes a joke takes a long time to figure out.
Yeah, I believe that.
Like one time I worked on one joke for a week before I got it right.
Mm.
And I go to a networking group that meets at 7:30 in the morning, and we each have a minute to talk.
Yeah.
And I like to put a joke in there.
Yeah.
And I could remember it was 7:30 in the morning, and I'm a night guy.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl,
Yeah.
and so it was little cobwebby in my head,
Yeah.
and I could remember the setup.
Yeah.
I could not remember the punchline.
Really.
I remembered it later, and then I told it.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, working on it, I mean, for a week, that's got to be. I imagine like with joke writing specifically, it's got to be frustrating because you feel like there's something funny about this, and you're like, I just don't quite have the word. And it like when you're doing a dad joke specifically or something like that, where it's like, setup punchline, like there's not a lot of fat on it. It's pretty
right.
bare, right?
Right.
It's got to be frustrating when you're like, I'm right there. What word is out of order for me to make this funny?
Mhm. Yeah, and the specific words are very important.
Yeah, of course, because it's like you're not, and like you said, you're not doing like some sort of like long like stand-up session, like you're like some long setup and then it's multiple jokes. It's like you're doing, this is one joke, one setup, one joke. That's it. Not giving you any other context, and to do that, that's so difficult in itself because there is no room for error, I guess, right? I mean, we're not talking about saving lives again, but it's
Right,
again, there's not room for error. I got to have just what I need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also want to tell you this part.
Okay.
The way I write my jokes, I know what the punchline is, so I come up with a question to get to the punchline.
Oh, okay. So you almost know what you want to say, and you're like, how do I get there?
Yeah,
That's smart. That's smart.
it's kind of a shortcut, but
But it makes sense. It's efficient. And I think like the other thing about like the fact that you're trying to like you have all these books, and you said you have the next couple books like almost ready. Already?
the jokes are all written, but
yeah.
there are other parts I have to put to it.
Yeah. But like I think what other creatives can take away is that like you're always going on, like you're always working on it. You're always practicing them. And even in the case where this one joke is like taking you a little bit longer to get, you're still like actively trying to work it out, and get it done, and then you're on to the next one. I think a lot of creatives, myself included, sometimes we have these periods where we get bogged down in our heads and you second guess everything and you're not releasing things or you're not finishing things, where I like that, like, there's 30 jokes in this guy that you're happy with, we're proud of, whatever, and then you didn't just sit there and be like, oh, I did that, like, I'm not sure if my next ones will be as funny, I'm not sure, whatever. You got to work on the next ones, and it's not, like you're sitting there in the gym or something like that, but it's like you're allowing them to be done so you can have space for new creative things.
Well, I think my jokes are actually getting better.
Yeah.
I'm not as prolific,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they're better quality.
Mm.
So
That's important too,
yeah,
to be
but
improving.
as you continue on, in the creative process, you should get better, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm interested. I'd like to hear you talk about it a little bit. In reading your website, I saw that like your dad played a big role in like kind of
Yes.
introducing you to
Yes.
comedy and stuff like that. What were the kind of things that like what was your dad's sense of humor like? Like what do you think? Where do you get? What did you get from him, sense of humor wise?
Well, it's pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much his sense of humor, and of course, my siblings were in the same environment,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily absorbing it the same way.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, my dad grew up on a farm, and we grew up on a farm. What's interesting, he was born in 1918.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that the person that brought humor into their family would have been my grandpa,
Yeah.
but it was actually my grandma,
Okay.
which in that era was kind of unusual. But
Yeah.
when you're working in the barn, you're working on the farm doing chores, it's drudgery, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have something to lighten it up and
To get through
bring
it,
the spirit up, and
Yeah.
they were just always good with that.
Yeah.
And two of my aunts, when we would do a family reunion, you get those two ladies together, those two girls together. Oh my goodness, they would tell the stories, and they could keep going for an hour,
Yeah.
and it was just funny,
Yeah.
and just you couldn't not listen.
Yeah. Some people are just, they have a way, and I think comedy helps with that, right? Where it's like it drops everybody's guard,
Right.
and then if you have someone that's an excellent storyteller like that, then you're just gonna pull people in, and that's,
Oh yeah.
that's a,
And talking about people dropping their guard, there are times when it seems like it's totally inappropriate,
yeah.
but if it's a real tense situation, the right words can really ease it all out.
Relieve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like, in music that's huge, in movies that's huge, in art I think that building and releasing of tension is huge, and so like especially it makes sense that in our real lives, when something is really tense or something is really stressful, to have the right thing, and like you said, it might seem inappropriate at times, and maybe there is a wrong joke you could make there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
There's
definitely.
plenty of wrong. I've done that before. So like, but it's like with the right delivery, the right person, the right joke, can just make all that fade away, even if it's just for a second.
Yeah.
Give somebody a little bit of
Yeah.
a break from it. I think that's amazing.
Break it up. Yep.
There's a couple other things I want to get to today. Okay, so we have. I don't want to forget about people's questions. I posted online here telling people we were having somebody who's a dad joke expert. Our first one here says, "Can dad jokes help Riz women?"
I don't know.
Are you familiar with Riz?
No, I don't know what that is.
Riz is like a new slang. So charisma.
Okay.
So it's kind of come from that, but it's in terms of like getting people attracted to you. So like, if you were talking game to like a young lady, like you were kind of trying to talk her up to get her to like you. That's what it would be like. So rizzing women is like, if I'm rizzing somebody up, I'm spitting game. Like I'm making them laugh. I'm endearing them towards me.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Women love jokes,
Women love a good joke.
and for some women, that's one of their criteria is a man that can tell a good joke.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's you gotta have that on some level if you're gonna be in this game.
Yeah.
Let's see what other questions people got.
I'm not sure if that's the.
I think that's a fair enough. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Can it
okay.
help? Can dad jokes help riz women? I think so. Have you ever what's been the wildest interaction you've gotten after you've told a dad joke, or like craziest reaction from somebody, or impactful, if that whatever comes to mind?
That's a good question. I can't think of anything offhand, but well, what was your reaction? I mean,
well, I thought I got to get this guy on the podcast, so I thought immediately.
That's a pretty good reaction,
right? That's pretty good, yeah.
That. I can't think of much better than that.
You're the first delivery guy that I've ever had that told me a joke. So, and only to this day, I never met that other guy still.
Okay.
So
Okay.
We'll see.
But I'm thinking about, I delivered to a veterinary clinic a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there were 3 gals up front, and we just had a really nice interaction. I told them a couple jokes, and they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And just kind of kept going, And then it was time to go. So, okay, here's my card, and on to the next one.
I gotta say, dude, there's probably so many people, and I'm sure you know this on some level, but there's probably so many people that have had like the briefest interaction with you that like they went home and they told somebody about it. They called their mom later and were like, that delivery guy like told me this joke, and they like that carries on to the rest of their day. So I hope you know that is, because I mean it did for me. I went home and was like, yo, this guy told me a joke, like, and he delivered my food, and I think, and in my case, I was like, I think I'm gonna have him on the podcast, whatever. But I'm sure there's plenty of other people that are just like, that was so awesome, like that was just such a silly, fun moment.
It's not. I don't know exactly how often that happens, but almost daily.
Yeah.
Somebody will say, "You just made my day."
Yeah.
And it's just that simple.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that other person's been doing that day and what they've been going through.
Yeah.
So just that little quick joke.
Yeah.
And people remember it.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think it's important.
In fact, I delivered to somebody the other day that I had delivered to them the day before, and after I made the delivery, I got a text from them. I'm sorry I didn't get to the door. I was taking a nap. I was looking forward to a new joke.
There you go.
So it's like, wow,
Yeah.
So, and people do remember me.
Yeah, I believe it.
For days, weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
Years later, somebody will say, I remember you.
Yeah.
I mean, so it does have an impact.
Yeah. No, I think it does, man. I'm glad to hear you see it.
And it's not like, yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, it's not in the bad way.
Not in the bad way.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
And you just brighten their day. And that's really, I think, what we all ought to be trying to do.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What is anything we haven't gotten to yet, Dave, that you think we need to talk about or touch on today before we wrap?
Well, I guess I'd like to say some of the best jokes, I think, have a one-word punchline. For example.
Okay.
And obviously I was thinking of this when I said that.
Yeah.
Why do bags of chips have so much air? And I know you haven't heard this one.
Why?
Inflation.
That's good, man. Inflation. That's amazing.
Because it works on 2 levels.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful. And the one-word punchline. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is good. It's almost like, yeah, dude, it's like you're taking like almost like a knock-knock joke, but like it's better. I don't know how to explain it. That's perfect, dude. Yeah. Inflation. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And I do have a riddle I do want to tell you.
Okay.
Where is a noisy place that you can hear a pin drop?
A noisy place that I can hear a pin drop.
And I can give you a hint.
Okay.
Think recreation.
Mm-hmm.
And Milwaukee actually used to be like the center for that particular form of recreation. Now, you're too young to remember Laverne and Shirley. You maybe saw them on reruns.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of a hint.
I don't
So
know. I'm
where's-
stumped.
Where's
man.
a noisy place that you can hear a pin drop?
I'm stumped. I have no idea.
I guess it kind of depends on what league you're in. So a noisy place that you can hear a pin
pin.
drop.
We're not talking about a basketball.
No.
No. It's like a pin.
I think he's got it.
I'm
Bowling alley.
Oh, dude. Really, dude? In Milwaukee, that's great. First of all, Milwaukee is like an epicenter for bowling?
It was, yes.
Really?
The bowling association used to be right west of Southridge.
Really? I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Wow. That's good, though. A noisy place where you can hear a pin drop. That's funny.
Yeah.
That is good. I love it, man.
So, is that a riddle? Is that a joke?
It's a little bit of both.
It's
I
a
call it a
little bit of
bar. That's
both.
what. So like a lot of times if you have like a really good quote, what like the younger guys will say now is like that's a bar. Like that's a bar because in rap it's like you have bars because you have bars of poetry.
Okay.
So they would call it if you like that would be if you said that to like a group of younger dudes specifically, they'd probably be like, "That's a bar, Dave.
Okay.
That's a bar."
Wow. I'm
You got
not,
some swag, man.
not sure I'm up on all this
No, but that's
this
good.
language.
That's good though. I'm telling you, dude. When you said that, that's the first thing that came to mind. I was like, that's a bar,
Yeah.
a loud place,
A noisy place.
a noisy
that
place
you
that you can hear a
drop.
pin drop. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bar.
Yeah. And there, of course, there's one other thing I do want to talk about, and you saw it on the video from Fox 6.
Yeah,
Every person has a special gift or talent that the world needs.
mm.
Your lifetime mission is to figure out what that special gift or talent is and how to get it to the world.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, you have to be responsible. You have to pay your bills.
yeah,
You have to, do that. But always keep in mind that you're here for a special reason.
yeah.
And there's something special that everybody needs that you have. So don't be afraid to share it.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. That's great advice. I think it's true.
So maybe that is my dad advice, right?
That's great dad advice. That's amazing. Well, thank you, Dave, for being on the show today, and thank you for giving us some riddles and some dad jokes. I love it. We have your stuff is linked down below, so if people,
Well, thank you.
if you had some fun listening or watching any of this today, you guys can check that stuff out. Aside from that, I want to quickly say thank you to our patrons. It should be up on the screen right now. If you guys are interested in getting behind-the-scenes access to extra videos as well as a series where I break down how I mix, master, write, and record every single one of my songs, you can go to patreon.com/DarrenRita. So you can help support the channel for as little as $1. Also, quick shout-out to we got Alpine House 2 for sponsoring another episode. Let me get my head out of the way there. And Impulse Cameras also for sponsoring today's episode. And with all that good stuff out of the way, this has been the 311th episode of the Detox Podcast.